JT and the Don with your hosts, Jimmy Thompson and Donato Bucci. They're covering the most current issues in sports from the 305 to the 412 and all the way to the West Coast. You can follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JT and the Don or email them at jtandthedon@gmail.com. Now take it away, guys.
Give them a shot to do what?
Welcome to the next episode of JT and the Don, presented by Give Us a Shot Network. I am the Don, Donato Bucci, and remember to subscribe to us where you find all of your other favorite podcasts. And remember to also subscribe to the Give Us a Shot YouTube channel. Thank you to Nicole Thompson, as always, for the wonderful introduction, and to our guy, Mike Regina, for the JT and the Don pump up music. I apologize if you're watching on YouTube live that we're running a little bit late. That is because of the DC traffic got caught up in the presidential motorcade. So I apologize for that. Get into the DC studios. So we've got an all basketball show. We've got one of our favorite guests coming on tonight. It's been a while, I think, since actually last NBA playoffs. But first, let me welcome in everyone's favorite JT, Jimmy Thompson. How you feeling today?
First of all, move over something so you're actually in frame the whole time. So don't hide and don't lie about presidential motorcades. No, you're just late, bro. You don't know how to drive. You don't know how to time manage. You always late, and now everyone can finally see it. So yes, it's you can't take full responsibility. You never said, it's my fault. You had to blame it on something else, which is typical of you. But
DC traffic.
Yeah, DC sure, traffic. Whatever. All right, introduce the guest because you kept not only you kept me waiting, but you kept him waiting.
Fine. I apologize to Coach. So let me welcome in former Louisville basketball player and previous coach at the collegiate and high school level, our guy, Coach Haj Turner. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you guys, man. Thank you guys. It's been too long. Happy to be back.
Thank you for the time. Thank you for waiting. Sorry for the delay, but we're excited to have you back, man. NBA playoffs. This is where Coach T shines.
Oh man, I got a little more time on my hands this playoffs, and between my son, and actually all three of my kids just being a little bit more into it. I've been watching more, man. I'm all in. It's been entertaining, and I have no idea how it's going to shake out.
All right. Well, hey, with that being said, we're going to dive right into it. So if you don't know, now you know. Nikola Jokic voted MVP for the third time. Just the 9th player in NBA history to win league MVP 3 times. So we got to talk about this because already on Twitter, #robbed is already trending. Shaq already told him to his face that, look, congratulations, but SGA should have won. So with that being said, Jokic, MVP. First question. Was he the right choice? Coach, we're going to go straight to you, straight to the source.
Well, like we were talking before the show, JT, it's really hard to figure out what factors in. Who votes? What are they voting on? The salaries, the contracts are impacted. It's so convoluted, and there's too many people. I hate to be that angry old basketball guy, but there's too many people involved that I'm not saying they don't know it, but I don't know if we should all trust their perspective. That being said, Jokic, I'm not surprised at all that he won it, but Shaq had a good point. And I don't know if his point should be part of how you factor it in, but his point was, look, you did what you were expected to do. SGA got those guys to the number 1 seed in the West, which is a monster. And that was with a rookie center and just less continuity, less chemistry. I understand the reasoning behind Jokic winning, and I understand Shaq thinking otherwise. And I like that Shaq told him as much, because there's too many people just being too PC when they're talking to a star, and obviously Shaq doesn't have to worry about that because he's a star in his own right. So I get both sides, but Jokic is he's whatever word that's more descriptive than unicorn. He's mesmerizing to watch, and I can't argue with him winning 3. I don't care about who won it last or how many he's won. He's different, man.
All right, so Coach is down with it. Don, you following suit?
Coach came out firing, but I love the words, mesmerizing unicorn. I think that describes Jokic really well. And not to take anything away from Jokic and Coach, I don't know how you feel, but I think you alluded to it. I don't care if you've won 4 in a row. If that 5th year, if you're the best player and you've earned that title again for a 5th year, you should get it. Now, with that said, and again, nothing to take away from Jokic, JT and I think we've had this question at the end of the regular season. Who did I think should win it? I thought it should be Luka Doncic. I mean, you look at his numbers. He's almost averaging 34, 10, and 10 a game. I mean, that is unbelievable. And I know he has the help from Kyrie, and Kyrie's had a phenomenal year. But you tell me another guy on that roster that could really take over any other team or be like a great third option that another team would love. I don't think there is. It's Luka and Kyrie. And I think last night at least validated in my mind my pick for Luka, because you saw when he's not even close to 100%, they got no chance against Oklahoma City. No chance. He's 100%. And this is no disrespect to Shea either, but if Luka's 100%, I think Dallas wins in 6 or 7. But with Luka not being even close to 100%, Dallas has no chance. Kyrie would need to score 60 now for Dallas to have a shot. And he's capable of doing it. But to do it for 4 games, I don't know. Like, how can he do that for 4 games in this series? He's going to have to steal all 4 now. Kyrie can get you 1, maybe 2, just like anybody. But Luka needs to be healthy. And I think last night showed that Luka's the MVP. Even though Shea and Oklahoma City are number 1, without Luka in there, Dallas is a play-in team, even with Kyrie.
I can't deal with y'all. You know what? I guess we're gonna start off this show on the wrong foot. This is bullshit.
Wait.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
No, I'm not gonna sit here and say Luka is my vote for MVP.
That's just him. He only.
No. But what I'm saying is, Luka, I feel like people are just used to him being as nasty as he is on offense. But the whole narrative this year, at least the second half of the year, was like he's really committed to defense. I'm like, what else do you want? Like he's averaging the numbers that Bucci said, and then on top of that, he's committed to defense. And because he's committed to defense, they're a better team. So what was he? He finished 3rd. What was it? Was he 3rd or 4th?
Honestly, I don't even know, because the guy who won it, I don't think he should have won it. And let me preface this by saying this. Don, if you don't back me up on this, you just a hater. You're not telling the truth. There's not a bigger fan of Jokic out there than me. I'm the one that's been saying he's the best guy in the league for like the last 4 years. I've been saying that amidst all the Embiid love. But let's keep it.
You've been the president of his fan club. For
exactly.
Sure. I'll give
let's keep it real. What you just said, it should have been Shea. Because if that's the case, yes, if you're the best player in the league and you just happen to be that guy every year, then I'm fine with you getting it. Like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant should have more MVPs, but they don't. Why? Because they didn't vote for these guys multiple years specifically for this reason. So now when I look up, Jokic is going to have 3. And you know what I hate about it? There's no way you can't put him in the GOAT conversations when it comes to his position, because he always going to have them 3 MVPs. It don't matter how he got them, but he's always going to be up there now in the conversation. He's going to have something that can get him in the door, whether he's right or wrong in the conversation. It's the same way I feel about Steve Nash. I love the guy, great player, but one of the all-time great point guards of my era. But the fact that he got 2 MVPs, and I believe 1 was unanimous, like, that's crazy to me. So it should have been Shea. You want to talk about, oh, yeah, all he did was get the Thunder to number 1. Let's not forget what the Thunder were. Shea wasn't even playing basketball in April most years. That's how bad the Thunder were. shutdown candidate. With Sam Presti getting all the picks, they were a tanking team, and he took them to number 1 in the West. We had like they were like some juggernaut on the rise last year. They were not number 1 in the West. You got the MVP in the West, defending national champion out there, the Nuggets. You got the GOAT in LeBron James. You got your boy who you think is MVP, Luka. And guess what? He got the team to number 1 seed over all those teams. Also over that disaster in Phoenix led by KD, which we'll talk about later. So he overcame all this stuff to get that team to the number 1 seed with his second best player being a guy that didn't even play. He's basically a rookie. Another guy who should have been in jail at the beginning of the season. So he did all that, and you're still saying it should be Jokic. Like, this is robbery.
Yeah,
that's
you know what? You know what? You know what?
SGA should be the MVP. Like, what more he got to do? And this is a makeup because they gave Embiid the MVP when it should have went to Jokic. Like I told you, like, this is ridiculous. I love the guy, but it's Shea. It should have been Shea.
JT. You go look at what Luka does for that team, and I'm not saying Shea doesn't do a lot.
I like Luka, but Luka not even in this conversation. He's not.
You're basing that on seed, and I think that's the worst argument.
Basing that on seed, accomplishments, degree of difficulty. You got like Shea was averaging 21 points a game.
Okay, but you're saying Luka shouldn't even be in the conversation.
No, he's not between those two. He's not up there this year.
JT. He's
a distant third or fourth.
Can I counter what you're saying? And I hope Coach Turner backs me up here, being a coach, right? Mark Daigneault, of the head coach of Oklahoma City, he goes 10 deep in the playoffs. No one does that. You know what the saying is? The saying is trust 8 in the playoffs, play 7. What that means is that he's willing to play 10. It shows you how.
So it's Shea's fault that Jason Kidd is a shit coach.
Can I explain? What I'm saying is the fact that they have 10 guys in the NBA on an NBA roster that are legit, that can play in the playoffs, shows you it's not all about Shea. I'm sorry. Yes, he does a lot, but it's not all about Shea. It is all about Luka and Dallas. How Luka goes, they go. With Shea, Oklahoma City would still make the playoffs, still be a top 5 seed, even if he wasn't 100%.
When have they ever done that with him? They don't do that without him.
They were young. What did he do last year? They needed to develop. Other guys developed instead of just Shea. Shea's been doing this for a couple years now. You know what happened? Everyone else got better at Oklahoma City. Sorry, JT. That's fact.
I agree with you, Don, but I don't think that your argument helps your case, because, like, so are you saying that because he played 10 guys, a lot of other people contributed, so he wasn't as much of a factor as?
No. What I'm saying is countering what JT said.
What he's trying to say, Luka has no help. He has to do everything by himself, so the degree of difficulty for him is more. So there, he should be the MVP.
Thanks for speaking for me. That's not what I was saying.
That's what it sounds like you're saying.
He had to overcome all these hurdles. What I'm saying is he has a lot of more help now than what people realize. And so what Luka needs to do night in, night out, to get the 34, 10, and 10. I mean, why are we just blowing over a guy that scores 34 and gets a triple-double? Every other year with Harden and Westbrook, it's MVP. It's a wrap. But Luka can never seem to get it either. I don't know. I don't know what else Luka needs to do.
All right, so the final breakdown is this. I said it should have been Shea. Coach, who would you have picked? Jokic or somebody else?
You asking me?
Yeah.
I would go Jokic.
Okay, Don, and you're going Luka?
Yep. Wow, right. Three different.
We all different. I don't agree with it, but okay.
I want to say, though, like, the thing about Shea is an interesting argument. Like, the reason I said that I agree with your point, but it may not be helping the Luka argument, is because the NBA is so contingent upon rotations and, like, playing these guys together and all these analytics. So I find it really, in some ways, more impressive because the rotations that Oklahoma plays and the amount of guys that they play is not normal. So you've got a guy who doesn't always have the consistent, I know this guy, I'm gonna be playing until the 3-minute mark, and then these guys, he's playing with different people, and he's still having that much of an impact on the team and on the league, even though it's not your typical 8-man rotation, you know, like you said, play 8, trust 7 or something like that. So I don't know. Shay's up next, I think. And I think Luka Doncic, I think there's something weird about, I never even thought about it much myself until you guys mentioned it, but like, maybe I'm missing it and I'm not paying attention, but like, I don't feel like he gets into the conversation ever. And he should be in the conversation every year, just off of his individual performances alone. So it's tough. We got to do some digging and see what is truly the criteria and who the hell is voting.
Well, I real quick, and then we'll go on to the next question with the NBA playoffs. But JT, I think, brought up a really good point about Shai having that number 1 seed, right? And I think that's part of why Luka, they can never seem to get beyond the 4 seed. And that may hurt him. Maybe people just feel like he's just racking up stats and it's not really helping the team, which I disagree with because you look at the guys around him. But I think JT mentioned a good point with Shai being the number 1. I think that's Shai's best argument, which, again, if it went to Shai, I wouldn't mind that either. I just think Luka was just a little bit more deserving. Or earned it a little bit more. That's all.
Yeah,
all right.
Next time. We can do this all night.
Yeah, we could. Germ chimes in. Jokic just better be happy and B wasn't healthy thanks to the 65-game rule that they implemented. Germ, thanks for chiming in and watching. We appreciate you always backing Embiid, especially against JT. So, JT, we good? Can we move on to the NBA playoffs?
Hey, you back losers. I'm all good with that.
Wow. See the way it is.
Let's go to the next one.
See the way it is.
It's true.
No, it's not. All right. So we've got one of the first teams that was eliminated. They were swept out of the playoffs, and we got to revisit that first round really quick. The Phoenix Suns. Coach Turner, what's wrong with the Phoenix Suns? Give us that coach's breakdown, please.
I know you're going to be annoyed by this, but I don't think there's much wrong with the Phoenix Suns. Not as much. Obviously, you get swept, out of the playoffs with that roster. Obviously, I'm being a little bit sarcastic because there's obviously some issue. I just think I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with it, but I think as we tend to do in the public and in the media, we're overreacting and not like, it's like if you think of a reason why a valid reason why they didn't have the success we all expected, everybody says it's an excuse. And I don't think that's fair. I think you've got 3 guys who are just alphas. This is their first time playing together. They only play 40, maybe less than 41 games together. They always throw those stats out about how many games the big 3 played together. I might be mixing up teams, but I know we all know that there were, significant time missed for injury for those guys. So it's the first season. I thought I have a tiny bit of a unique insight. I actually went to Phoenix for 2 games this year. They played back to back, and I had some people I knew out there. And anyways, I was able to go to 2 games, and had pretty decent access. Just kind of watching the behind the scenes stuff. And what I noticed, and I'm not saying that this is new, I just haven't watched them this closely before, but Bradley Beal seemed extremely frustrated all year. Well, I shouldn't say all year, but once I started watching those 2 games and then watching him closely, a little bit closer after those games, he seemed like really frustrated. And I'm not saying that, he's a bad teammate, but it looked like he struggled in a kind of obvious way, like body language way. He struggled with adjusting to his role from the Wizards to Phoenix. And then, KD, has not played a lot of basketball in a long time. He still had a solid, a really good year. I think there's going to be changes there, but I don't think that there's some you need to burn it down at all. So I wish I could give you, I wish I could affirm your question, like what's wrong. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think they have a lot of intriguing pieces. They have 3 Hall of Famers, and they're not a bust, but they also have some fairly high expectations that they just didn't meet in the first year.
Got it.
Who has though? What big 3? And I don't know the answer to this. I'm glad
you asked that question because see, this is the KD effect. No matter what happens, we got to give him some BS excuses. But to answer your question, who's a big 3 that had to figure it out and never played together and made it work? You know who did? These boys right here. Because last time I checked, they never played together and they still went to the NBA Finals. Now, did LeBron not do what he was supposed to do? That's a whole other question. But I agree with you on the Bradley Beal, because it's hard to go from the Wizards where you could jack up bad shots to now you got to play the Chris Bosh role. Not every superstar or star is made to play that role. So that, and also he's been injured, and that's why Washington out traded him as well.
JT, do you think the expectations for the big 3 in Miami, their first year, were the same as the expectations for Phoenix big 3 the first year?
No, but part of that was because of the expectations that we put out there that were unrealistic. When you got guys on stage saying, we're not going to win 5, but 7, but 8. Like, okay, we expecting you to win. We definitely not expect you to go year 1 and drop the ball. And we definitely expected more than 2 rings when you guys could have stayed together forever. But to answer the question, what's wrong with the Suns? It's two easy things. The first is they didn't have a point guard. And I feel like with those big 3, you need somebody that can handle the ball, control pace, tempo of the game. It doesn't even necessarily need to be a star. Like somebody like a Rondo would have been perfect for this roster. Like they need a floor general at point guard. Like they didn't have that, and I think it messed it up. That kind of shifts Beal and more so Booker to that role where I don't think they thrive in it. Like everybody wanted point Booker to be a thing. But the main problem is, we just gonna say it, they don't have any dogs. Like we know what KD is at this point. Booker's been hyped up by this aura that Kobe has wrapped him up, and he's the new Kobe ever since they won that one play-in tournament in the bubble, and they haven't done anything since. And we already talked about Bradley Beal. Like he's basically stealing money at this point. This was never going to work. Like I never bought into it because there's 3 guys that don't equate to winning. They don't equate to winning in winning situations. So why are we expecting 3 of them to get together and it's going to change? Like they just aren't those guys. And that's why I think it's wrong with it.
You know what? I'm not disagreeing with you, but I was thinking, like, as you were wrapping up, this may sound like an excuse. I don't know the answer to the question, but I think it's worth mentioning. Think about the infrastructure around the team with Miami. You got 3 great players, obviously, but you also have an infrastructure and a culture that's just built in already. With Phoenix, call it an excuse, but there's a lot of newness there. It's not just 2 new players, but there's a new owner. There's changes in management. And they're coming off all that nonsense with the I can't remember his name, and I don't even want to say it anyways. But I don't look. I have NBA is different, man. I don't know how that stuff trickles down to the floor, but it has to have an effect. You know, there's so many new pieces, a new owner. And you compare that to the infrastructure of not just the Miami Heat, but just think about championship teams, whether they have a big 3 or not. There's usually some stuff like built in that you can count on. And I think everything's just a little bit new there. And I don't think their window is I don't think it's a 2-year window. I'm not saying it's 10, but it's not like it's bust if they don't win it next year.
Well, JT loves anytime anyone says Heat culture. So good job, Coach Turner. You got on his good side. And hey, you heard it here first from Coach Turner. Bradley Beal, Hall of Famer. I'm guessing that was the 3rd guy when you said Booker, KD, and Bradley Beal, right? You said the Suns have 3 Hall of Famers, no? Did I misunderstand?
Is that a hot take?
I think it's a hot take.
Yeah, I mean, Bradley Beal, I'm not considering him a Hall of Famer.
Beal is a Hall of Famer. I like that. Hey, we're gonna put that on Instagram. It's gonna make us look good. It's gonna make you look good. It's gonna go viral. Don't worry.
My inbox is about to be messed up.
Now, what's wrong with the Suns, Coach Turner? This is why we love having you on, because we respect you a lot. We respect your analysis of things, but we also know, we can push back a little bit, and you'll push back. I've got push back when you say it's a little bit of a reaction. When you get swept out of the playoffs, first round, to a team that's never – they were there last year and lost in 5 to Denver, meaning Minnesota. But when you get swept by Minnesota and it's the first round and you have Kevin Durant on your team, you have Devin Booker on your team. Booker been to a finals. Kevin Durant's won multiple finals. When that happens, something's wrong, Coach Turner. You got to change something. And I agree with JT. It's like he stole my notes. They don't have that true point guard. They don't have that true floor general. Even the Heat, when they had LeBron, D-Wade, both guys could be kind of that point forward, the 1 or 2 or the 3. And then you also had Bosh, who didn't handle the ball as much. They had Mario Chalmers. People would laugh about that, but how important was Mario Chalmers? I don't think we'll ever know.
Hey, let's not laugh about Chalmers.
I'm not.
Hey, he got a national championship.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. We can never know truly how important he was. You would have to ask Coach Spo. So if he ever wants to come on the show, we'd love to have him on. But we will never know that, and that's what Phoenix is missing. They're missing that floor general. They're missing a guy like Mario Chalmers in the playoffs against good defenses can alleviate some of that pressure. And then it's the depth. Again, I told JT this last year. They're not going to win last year because of the depth. They have no depth. Listen, Royce O'Neal, great guy, but he's not enough. He's not enough coming off the bench. He's just not.
He can't be in your top 7 players if you want to go far.
Trust 8, play 7. He's number 8. All right. So, JT, let me start with you on this. Who deserves the most blame for this failure this season?
Oh, that's another easy question. It's KD. You always say this. He's the best pure scorer of all time, whatever that means. He's supposed to be the best. He didn't look like the best pure scorer at any point during this series. He felt more irrelevant in this playoffs than the all-time great that people are trying to make him. I more see his career, the more I see of his career, the more I have respect for prime Russell Westbrook as time grows, because this is who KD is. And I don't want to be disrespectful, looking more like the passenger and not the bus driver. And that's who's going to get the blame, because people consistently trying to tell me he's a top 10 player of all time. So I got to blame the GOAT.
All right, Coach, you agree?
No.
Whoa. Okay.
No, I don't. I got to go with the coach.
Wow, Frank Vogel, the guy that won your Lakers a title? I got to
hear I don't have anything specific, like any gossip or anything I know, but it seemed like watching them, there just wasn't the type of cohesion that you need. And I know that's vague and kind of not the strongest answer that I can quantify with stats or anything, but it just didn't seem it didn't seem like, whether it's interviews or just interactions during games, it just didn't seem like there was a lot of cohesion. And I think that every good coach, I don't care how many Hall of Famers you have on the team, I think your job more than anything in the NBA is these guys are so damn good, man. They're so good, and you've got to find that balance, whether it's in coach or coaching staff. You've got to find a way to connect with those players, and it just didn't seem like that was there. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just like a fan, like we all are, just.
Nah, you better than a fan. You watch the game in a different way.
I do, but I don't have more access than anybody.
Understood.
I had a good seat to 2 games, basically. You know what I mean? But it just didn't seem like those teams more often than not, those teams that win consistently or win it all, like they love each other, man. Like they have a connection, and I think that when that's not there, you got to look to the leadership. So maybe it's not coaches, but maybe it's like the non-players or whatever, like the decision makers. I mean, it's definitely not a knock right at Vogel. I just think you got to find a way to put that together. Like you don't need to be the best X and O guy, and all you got to do is ball screen and switch and exploit the mismatch. Like, there's not a whole lot of creativity in the NBA, but you got to have some togetherness because there's a lot of money and egos flying around, and you got to keep that together. And I don't even think that's not unfixable either. I think what I'm saying may have been the cause is really hard to do in year one. So it's not even that knock is not even really a knock. I think it all goes back to time, not one person, not one specific pointing the finger,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, that's why Phil Jackson was so good, right? He was able to get all those guys, whether it was the Bulls or the Lakers, like you said, you've got guys making multi-millions of dollars each year. He was able to get them to buy in, and Tex Winter supposedly was the X's and O's guys with the triangle offense. So you almost have me swaying away from my answer, Coach Turner. So that was well put. And some of it might go back to what you and JT were saying, whereas some of it might be on the executives, on the ownership, right? Some of that new ownership blood just needs to trickle down a little bit. But I hate doing this, but I got to agree with JT. It's KD. And this is all that I will say about it. This is all
no. Say more than all. Say what's on the sheet.
No. I am. But this is all you need to know of why it's KD's fault. They traded for him, Coach Turner. You know what they gave up? They gave up two quality players, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. Those guys were starters there at worst. Cam Johnson, a bench guy. That's why they lost their depth. In 4 first-round picks. So let me tell you something, KD. If you can't hack it and you have the game that you had in games 2 and 3, all right, where he did not play well, did not shoot well, did not score well, we've got no other young guys coming to help you. We can't be Oklahoma City. We can't be Orlando. We can't be Minnesota. We don't have any picks. You know why? We traded them all for you to please Devin Booker. And by the way, we brought in Bradley Beal, who now we still owe 3 years, $150 million. You know why we brought in Bradley Beal? For you. So guess what? It's on you. You've got to figure it out. You want to blame the coach? Hey, maybe he has 20% of it. You want to blame ownership? Maybe another 20%. But that 60%, that's on you. So it's on KD.
You guys already mentioned it, and I think it's worth, like, it's a bigger part of the equation is like there's no point guard. I think you got to give up. You're going to have to give up a lot to get a KD and to get like, we can talk about the guys that gave up, but like if they don't give them up, they don't get KD. So I get what you're saying. Like you got to give up something to get it, and then the guy that you get has to do his job. But like,
if this was Golden State KD, though, they would not have been swept, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Maybe this is Golden State KD. He just bunched in with a bunch of other generational players.
Like Golden State KD has a whole lot more room to operate on the floor.
Golden State KD is just
let's not.
He just cost more in a different year. Like this is who it was. He just does a little bit less.
Golden State KD had 2 of the most prolific 3-point shooters in the history of human civilization.
Okay, and that's fair, but let's not act like Devin Booker is something to sneeze at. I mean, the dude can shoot.
So we gonna talk about Booker at some point.
Well, let me go to you then, JT. Is this the end of KD and Booker in Phoenix?
Yeah, I do, because everybody already saying that Booker's out. He's going to be on the Knicks. Like, if anybody was going to leave this situation, I think it's going to be Devin Booker. Like, he's been there. He's seen all the management rebuilds. Like, whatever y'all said, the stuff from management hasn't trickled down to him. He tired. Like, he ready to do something else. And the fact that he ready to go to the Knicks management over the Suns management lets you know it ain't going to work in Phoenix. So I do think Booker is.
I hadn't heard that. I don't know.
That's JT rumors. That's what we call
it.
It's
Stephen A. Smith. He said he might not admit it, but my sources tell me he wants to be a Knick at all costs, and New York will do whatever it takes to get him. So we see what happened. Jalen Brunson went over there. All of a sudden, he's an MVP candidate. Don won't shut up about it. He's like, I can go do that. I can go jack up shots and get contact, put up 30 points a game, and we can win a couple playoff series. And people say I'm gonna go too.
Even I could score 40 a game if I got to chuck it up 40 times.
I mean, Isaiah Thomas did it. I mean, he might be a little taller than you, but I mean, work out with him and see what happens, man. But yeah, Booker done.
I mean, you go to the Knicks. The Knicks ain't gonna be what they were. It's not like they're gonna add him as without losing anything.
Right.
Like you're gonna give up Josh Hart.
Josh Hart, yep.
You don't win anything without Josh Hart. You don't win anything without Josh Hart.
What?
He's
Josh Hart. Now the deal's off. We can't give up Josh Hart.
JT be all sarcastic.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Like, can't with Josh Hart, the best rebounder, best out of position.
You know why? You know how you can tell JT's never coached? Because he has that sarcasm about Josh Hart.
I respect Josh Hart.
But we know what Josh Hart truly
out of
does,
position
how valuable he is.
Insane. Like, that keeps possessions going. And it ends them for other people, too. I know Josh Hart's importance.
No, Josh Hart's
he's the heart and soul of the team.
There's some bias for me. Like, I don't know if it's regional bias, but you talk about Josh Hart and KD and all these guys, like maybe my emotions are getting into it, but you probably can't get a guy like Booker without giving up somebody like Josh Hart. And I just don't think you're going to win without Josh Hart. I think he's the quintessential, like, kind of new age glue guy. He's like, it's not just about like floor burns and like taking charges, but he does all that, but he'll still give you 20 the hard way without making a bunch of threes. He gets these rebounds that makes you want to like just. He's the first person in a while that I've rewound to watch a rebound. Like, I rewind, like, damn, like, where did he come from? Like, that's impressive, man. Like usually doing that for like a crazy move or a dunk or a block, but just the way he attacks the ball and creates extra possessions, that's special.
So do you think it is the end for KD and Booker in Phoenix, though? Because it seems like you and I think like New York's not going to get Booker, but is it the end for them in Phoenix?
It better. I think it would be really, really impatient and those. No, I don't think it's the end, and I don't think it should be.
Okay. All right. Hey, shout out to Larry Franklin, our guy. Thanks for watching. Seat pleasant in the house, as he said. Yeah, I don't think it is either. It can't be. You got to run it back with these guys. Like, you've invested too much, especially with the Beal trade, the KD trade. I already told you what the pieces they gave up. But listen, I think it might be the end of Beal in Phoenix. I know that's not the question, but Beal might be that odd guy out. Kind of what Coach was saying earlier.
Ain't nobody taking on that contract.
So that's a good point, right? He's got 3 years left, $150 million, right? But I still think you can get some value for him if you eat some of the contract and you give up some of your other pieces. You might have to go into the future.
Oh, so the team that has no depth now has to eat the contract and give up more.
What I meant by pieces was give up your 2032 first-round pick because you don't got them for a while anyway. You might as well go all in at that point. So I think he might be the one guy. He still scores 18.2 points a game. You might get something for Beal, but you've got to run it back.
Y'all say they stay together. I say they splitting up. All right. So we're gonna go to the NBA fast break game. Don loves this, so I'm gonna read what he wrote because he always gets upset when I don't do this. So Don, can I read this?
Yeah, I wrote it for you because you can't get it right unless I write it for you.
I don't care. So let's play the NBA fast break game. We will ask a question and we will give multiple potential answers to it. He loves that word potential. Select the answer that you think fits best. So we're going to roll through these really quick, guys. First one on the docket. More impressive this playoffs, Jalen Brunson or Anthony Edwards? So because you won't shut up about Jalen Brunson for 3 years now, no, I'm going to go to you. Which one's more impressive?
All right, listen, Ant-Man, that's my guy. He's my favorite.
Everybody's your guy now?
He's my favorite player now. He took over
He's your favorite player now?
He took over the realms
you need to send your Paolo Banchero jersey back to wherever you bought it from. That's a lie.
But it's Brunson. 40 points, 4 straight playoff games. He's only the 4th player in the history of the NBA to do that. And the first since, do you guys know? The first player to do this since who?
Michael Jordan.
There you go. 1993. 31 years ago, MJ. That's all that needs to be said. That's more impressive. We can go on to the next question, unless you guys want to fill time.
We gonna cut him out. More impressive, Brunson or Ant?
Ant Edwards. Without a doubt. I'll tell you why. A couple things. Brunson earned, it's kind of like the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to Jokic. Like, that's what you're supposed to be doing, Brunson. And it's as impressive as it is, he got that contract based off busting everybody's ass in Dallas, and he earned that contract to be that guy in New York. What year in the league is Anthony Edwards?
I think 3rd or 4th year at this point, right?
That's why it's more impressive to me. What he's doing with a younger team and a younger core and a team that's just doesn't have the same fanfare to come in and like seamlessly blend with Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert, like all those dudes, like, and honestly, like, this isn't part of the impressive part, but he's a much more entertaining interview also.
Exactly. And you know what? I don't know this gentleman personally, but I like him already. Uncle Rome said Ant. And that's the correct answer. Don, you gave all these stats about, who scored 30 points in 20 minutes. Jordan was the last person to do it. You know what happens every time I turn the TV? They ain't call it Jalen Brunson Michael Jordan. They call it Ant-Man Michael Jordan. You know why? Because he out there doing crazy stuff, playing out of his mind.
There's another reason why. Another reason why they call him Michael Jordan.
Don't get JT started. Don't get him started.
We weren't going to talk about that. We weren't going to talk about that.
Please.
See, Coach. He been here too many times now. Now he
knows what buttons to push.
Yeah, there we go. But let's keep it real. It's Ant.
Back on track.
Yeah, it's Ant. It's not close.
No,
Next one.
No. I got to counter that. We can't listen.
Bro, you got your opinion. It's Ant. 2-1. You lost. 2-1. You lost. Jerome even said it's
I don't care that the guy looks like Michael Jordan. Brunson is putting stats up like Jordan. And one other thing, Coach.
All honesty. I'm not trying to trash Brunson, but let's keep it real. If he wasn't playing for the Knicks, would this even be a conversation?
No, but that's my point that I was going to get to Coach Turner, because he mentioned a couple things. You the number 1 overall pick, bro. Anthony Edwards. You better be that guy. You the number 1 overall pick. It's 3rd year now. Get it done. And on top of that, listen, Coach Turner, I know Brunson been in the league, but he never been the guy. And now he is. And you know where he's doing it? MSG. Every night. That place is alive. Not even Melo was doing
the 76ers.
Not even Melo. Was able to get
the job done. Come on. We're not bashing.
You gonna keep interrupting me all night? You gonna keep interrupting me all night? Not even Melo. Not even. We got time. Coach Turner is good. He's enjoying the show.
You want to listen to this, Coach? Come on, man.
I want to listen to both of y'all, but I forget what it was. But one of you just made a good point, or no, you just reminded me of something like that makes me. I know this is like prisoner of the moment, but they just beat the poop out of the Denver Nuggets.
2 games, Coach. They the defending champs. You better finish them off.
2.
I'm saying
you just counted the 2 games.
You asked the question right now today on May 8th. Like, maybe the answer changes. Maybe they lose 4-2 to the Nuggets. I don't know. But if we're talking about up to this point in this conversation on this podcast today, you got to factor that. Like
that's why I factor it in. If it was 4, it'd be different. Maybe I lean toward Anthony Edwards. You haven't done anything yet. You beat Phoenix, who we talked about is in disarray.
But you counter with Brunson doing it, and he's never been the guy before. That's true. I'm just saying my counter is he's led, like, as of today, Anthony Edwards has done everything he's done. Like, it's not like it's impressive to sweep the Phoenix Suns. This is not just the Phoenix Suns didn't just lay down. They didn't like KD. They all played those. They like just as bad as it looks for Phoenix, it looks really good for the Timberwolves to sweep that team with a guy whose poster is hanging on his bedroom wall. Like that's impressive. And to smack the Nuggets 2 games in a row in Denver right after that, like that's. I mean, we can go. It's apples. Apples. It's like you can 61 half dozen and other or whatever half dozen. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's my counter to what you said about Brunson. Never being the guy before. But like it's close. We wouldn't be debating it if it wasn't close.
Right.
Hey, we gonna do this. Like Rome said, it's and like Rome said, this is called fast break. Don, stop breaking the rules.
Hey, sometimes I want to be Kevin Durant. I just want to just hold the ball like.
That's why you're not a winner. All right, more
ball into the court.
More disappointing, Jerome. We're gonna keep this quick. Thank you for reminding them. More disappointing, Embiid or KD? Don, go ahead, defend your boy.
More disappointing, Embiid or KD? Right?
Yeah.
It's KD. You got swept. You got swept. At least Philly won 2 games, and he wasn't even 100%. I mean, KD, what's your excuse? At least Embiid was hurt. What's your excuse? Go look at games 2 and 3 by KD. Awful individual performances when they need them the most. Listen, this is the other thing, going back to some of the questions earlier, Coach Turner. Phoenix was the darling of the bubble, right? They made the finals the following year. And now look, they went all in for KD. They're getting swept out of the first round by a young team. Like, something's wrong there. There's trouble. There's something wrong. So KD, more disappointing. We need more from you.
Coach, he don't follow directions, so I'm going to go to you. More disappointing, Embiid or KD?
Embiid. And I'm like, just because Larry's like never leaves me alone, he's giving me the blues even on this show. I'm gonna keep this brief. Embiid, and this is not a personal attack on Embiid, but like at all turns, like when it really is time to take that next step, get to the finals, win the finals, he can't control this, but he gets hurt. Like he was struck. I give him props because he looked like he was on one leg, but like I'm disappointed in his injury, not so much in him, more than KD. I made all my points about KD and whatever, but like Embiid, it's just disappointing that he can't stay healthy when it matters most, because he is the MVP if he doesn't get hurt.
I agree. It's Embiid, and always because everyone spent so many years telling me that he was better than Jokic. Like, he's better than Jokic. Jokic is boring. Just for him to never get it done. Like, he's not even better than Brunson at this point, like, if we being honest. And it's a shame because he's so talented. But let's be real. If somebody told you that there was an argument to be made that maybe this is Maxey's team right now, like, what really could you say to that person? Because Maxey showed up and showed out and really kept them in that series where it's like Embiid, I was expecting more of him. This is a guy that's an elite scorer, especially for a big man all time. And everybody's saying he should be an MVP candidate every year. And you getting dragged by these Knicks? Come on, man. It can't.
He was injured. Come on.
It's
amazing hurt. He was out there.
All right. Next one. More disappointing. 3. The Warriors, the Lakers, or the Suns? Coach, I'm going to go to you first.
Lakers. Full stop. I ain't got nothing else to say. Don't get me started. You gonna make the FCC's about to come in here, man. Like, don't get me started.
We know what buttons to push. We know what buttons to push.
I think Don knows, but I don't know, JT, if you know. Like, I'm a 79 Showtime diehard, like, in my blood Laker fan. So when the Lakers don't win a championship, they're always the most disappointing team.
So you've been in the bad mood for a while.
Hey, JT about to tell his story that he met Dr. Bus.
We're going to have to talk about that story another time. We in the fast break. So, Don,
I'm going to go with the Suns because of the expectations. They brought in Bradley Beal, the big 3. They were supposed to get it done. You got swept in the first round. At least the Lakers won a game against the defending champs. Phoenix lost to a young Minnesota team, got swept. You had the big 3. You have the new big 3, KD, top 10 player all time. Come on.
I agree with you. It's the Suns only because we knew the deal with the other 2. They had 2 old superstars and nothing else around those players for the Lakers and the Warriors. Like, everybody thought this was going to be the Suns were going to be the next big thing, and they crashed and burned. So they are definitely the most disappointing. More concerning going forward, the Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers? Don, since this is fresh with your Orlando Magic getting knocked out, we're gonna go straight to you.
Why are the Celtics? This is a JT type of question.
The reason I put that in there because that is the pulse on social media that they're fool's gold, and that the fact that Miami won a game with no players in Boston, and Boston does this every year. They look great in the regular season, but they don't get it done. So who's more concerned?
Listen, every once in a while in the playoffs, someone's going to have a great game and you're going to lose. That's what happened in that series. It's the Cavs. They already got blown out by 20 plus. Last night against the Celtics in game 1. Jared Allen's health is a concern. And listen, they have a lack of scoring outside of Donovan Mitchell. I saw it firsthand. Game 7 against my Magic in Cleveland. I was there. And if it wasn't for Donovan Mitchell, Orlando wins by 30. Like, Cleveland's got major problems, and they better hope they re-sign him or give him an extension at the end of the year because they're going to lose him.
Coach?
I got to go with the Cavs. I'm not concerned about the Celtics at all. I get the whole narrative. They do this every year, but like so many things change from year to year. Like this is Mazzulla's second year. Like he's more locked. He's just more experienced. They're really winning, and I don't think they can win the whole thing without Porzingis, but they're doing pretty damn well with him being out for a while. If he comes back, that'll be one of the biggest storylines. If Porzingis comes back and they don't win it, I will be shocked. And this is a Laker fan talking, but I feel like I might have to throw up after saying this, but I think the Celtics have no like. That's like when you want to dog out these teams and these players. Like there's going to be some stuff. Boston's going to burn down if they don't win it this year.
Hey, Rome is burning, and get your shocked face ready because it's always the Celtics. They do this. And we fall for the smoke and mirrors every year. They literally drew the 2 best matchups possible in the first 2 rounds. They got a hurt us and a Cavs team that can't score. Like they lost by 15 or more points twice to the Magic. Like think about that. It's always going to be the Celtics until they live up to this hype and get it done. And I don't think they will. So for me, as a Celtic hater, it is the Celtics. I'm so concerned about them. I hope they lose, and I don't wish them no success. Next, more likely, Bronny gets drafted in the first round or the Knicks win a championship. Don, I know you love Jalen Brunson, but you also love Bronny. So which one are you picking?
I'm going to go with Bronny. That's more likely get drafted in the first round.
You mean Jalen Brunson? If Michael Jordan 2.0 is not going to win them a championship in the Garden?
If Bronny declares for the draft, I think he goes first round. He can play defense. A lot of people will feel his ceiling is high. And let's be real, right? His dad is LeBron James. When you look at New York, they got Boston and Indy still in the East. In the West will be even more difficult. And you just lost Mitchell Robinson. So there goes your depth. And Hartenstein just isn't quite as good as Mitchell Robinson. So now you've really shrunk it to a 7-man rotation. And like I said, I want depth in the playoffs. And New York's losing it. No Randall, no Mitchell Robinson. They're losing. Now they're basically making bench guys start. Thank you, Larry Franklin. He's going with
he says I'm going to get drafted before Bronny, so he disagrees.
Come on, man. Come on, coach.
Wow. First of all, I'd like to say that I realize why I'm on the show is because Larry Jerome wasn't available. I get that, and I'm fine. I'm fine being second fiddle.
Hey, but his NIL deal was
the Knicks will win. If you could win 2 championships in 1 year, that would happen before Bronny gets drafted in the first round. And that's because like I really feel I worry about his post college career or his career in general because he's going to be like, think about this. You have these GOAT conversations with LeBron and Michael Jordan, and his sons. Michael Jordan's sons. It's not a fair comparison, but like, I think you don't talk about a kid. You take his last name away. You don't he's not going to stay in the draft. Like that would be horrible. Like I think that would be horrible advice if he stays in the draft. He's coming off a major life or death health scare. I think we should all be impressed that he got through a college season after almost dying and having cardiac arrest. But we have to push this narrative and should he get drafted, and is he only getting drafted because of his dad? I think it'll be I think and the Knicks are pretty good this year too. So no, I think in no way I would go. It's way more likely that the Knicks win the championship.
I gotta disagree with you, man. It's Bronny going the first round. The fact that he declared tells you everything we need to know. It's because it's his dad.
He's still in the portal too, though.
Yeah, whatever. LeBron and Clutch Sports will get this man drafted in the first round. And guess what? Anybody that drafts him, you might get LeBron too. So it's so enticing. And I agree with you. I feel bad for Bronny because he's always going to have that tag. But let's keep it real. If we had to blind resume them, what's the difference between him and LiAngelo Ball coming into the league? They both are that same type of prospect. They're hyped up. They really haven't shown us everything we need to see them let us know they'll make it in the NBA. But yeah, I'm not betting against Bronny. If the Vegas odds aren't too bad, I'm going to put money on it just pretty soon and try to get paid because he's going in the first round. Next one, bigger issue: the Orlando Magic shooting or Damian Lillard's winning? Don, it's the Magic. I feel all these questions are geared toward you.
Well, the Magic, they're my team, Coach Turner. I think we've talked about that. I'm going to go with the bigger issue is Lillard winning. And this is not to say he's not a winner. Sorry for the double negative. But you had him and CJ McCollum in Portland. They couldn't do it. He gets traded to Giannis. They lose. Now, he can't control the injury to Giannis. But, maybe he's just destined to be like a Charles Barkley, a Karl Malone, a John Stockton, a Carmelo Anthony, a superstar, but just unfortunate depending on the era he played in and the teams and in the conference he played in, because the Magic can fix the shooting in the offseason. They can go get guys, right? They can go make deals for just shooters. But the problem is, what can Dame change at this point? What can he change? He can't control Giannis's injury. So what can he change? He's still playing really well. What else can he do? I just don't know.
Coach, tell him he's wrong.
I will say that you're wrong.
But I'm
because right. I think I hate to I feel like I'm being repetitive, but you've got some. You got to think about what happened in Milwaukee this year. This is his first year. They fire a coach who's 40-13 or 30-13.
33.
Then they're the best defensive team when that happens, and I think they get worse after that. And it's such a small window, a snapshot of data to assume that this is going to be just like it was in Portland. And whereas Orlando Magic, you're talking about a whole team shooting as opposed to one guy winning. Who I was look, my son, his favorite player is Giannis, and we're watching these games and we're having all these debates at home, just with the whole family, not just him. And I told my family that there is zero chance that Giannis plays any game in the playoffs. I don't care if they go to Game 7 of the finals. That was just my personal gut feeling, and I'm no doctor, and I'm telling you, I know this is not good science. I just remember what happened to KD, and I'm like, nope, there's no way he's playing, because there's KD, the fact that he came back to be the player he is not a given. That's for a guy who plays that way. He also plays a different style than KD. KD's a little smoother and less the physical and the explosive than Giannis. Giannis wasn't touching the court. I never felt like he was. And if you don't have a former MVP or a potential MVP every year, probably for the next 5 years, that's why they're not winning. And they won it. I think they got to get over losing Drew Holiday more than anything. But don't get me started there.
I agree, Coach. I agree on the Giannis thing because when he went down, that's exactly what I thought about. I was like, ooh, that looks like that KD situation. Like, I wonder if they're going to push it. But it's the Orlando Magic, just strictly because, like, who on that team do you trust to take a mid-range jumper, much less a three-point shot? Like, there's nobody on that team that can do it. Like, this is the NBA. Like, there are guys like that can shoot. Like, in Orlando found a way to get 15 of all the guys that can't do that that I can rely on. So you're right. They can fix it in free agency, but man, like, they've shown me that I don't trust that they know how to find shooters. So I'm going with them.
All right. So, Coach, I don't know if we had this segment last. Okay. All right. So you remember
he gave the best line of the show on this segment last time.
What'd he say?
He said it was Fugazi about something about Jimmy Butler being the best player or something. He's like, that's the biggest Fugazi of all time. You remember that?
Yep. No, I do. Yep. So forget about it, Fugazi. For the listeners at home, we'll read a statement. If we agree with it, we think it's a hot take, we'll say forget about it. If we disagree with it, that it's not a good take, we'll say Fugazi. All right, JT, I'm just going to run through these, so just sit back and relax. We'll start with Coach first. Anthony Edwards is now a lock top 5 player right now.
Forget about it.
JT, you agree?
Forget about it, man. He's top 5. It's him, Jokic, Luka, Shea, and Brunson. Like, that's the top 5 right now, man.
I had a totally different answer last night. I was like, hell, then I realized I'm just being old and angry. Bro, yeah, like, I got to be real. Like, I was like, maybe I got some sleep last night. Like, let's look at this question with a clear head, and I changed my answer to forget about it.
Yeah, listen, forget about it. No doubt. I don't care who the other 4 are, but you got to have him in the top 5 at this point. His defense puts him over the top. Next one, JT, I'll start with you since you always want to dog my guy. Jalen Brunson is the biggest free agent acquisition of the last decade.
You know what's funny? I remember you texted me this, and I know you feel so proud about it. You texted me this at the bar, and you're like, yeah, he's the best free agent signing of the last decade. It's so impactful. And you know what? I kind of agree with you just because of where he landed and what he's done with the Knicks. Like, they're already saying that as far as, like, popularity and impact, he's leaped guys like Ewing and Carmelo Anthony. Like, just because he's winning in one playoff series. So I gotta think just the winning and the impact alone of how the fans in Knicks Nation feel. Yeah, I gotta agree with that. That's forget about it.
All right, Coach. He don't want to agree with us.
You said you slept on it, so you can't be giving us old, angry answers.
Hey, I slept on it and had even the same answer but stronger in the morning. Fugazi, LeBron James.
To where?
I mean, either one.
Last decade.
The Lakers, that's what you said.
Miami don't count. 2014, summer 2014, he went back to Cleveland.
And we're in the summer of 2024 now.
Yeah.
That's not a.
So you're going with LeBron? You're
going with LeBron at either spot is more impactful.
Yeah, like I thought that it fell barely within the 10-year window.
It does with Cleveland. It does with Cleveland. It does.
Even if it doesn't, LA also.
So the only options really are KD to Golden State or LeBron to Cleveland in LA. So KD, I take out of there because they already had a title and it was a short run. And you look at LeBron now with the Lakers, Coach. No offense, but one, it's the Lakers. Like, him going there doesn't change the franchise. It really didn't change the balance of the NBA either at that time. And they won one in the bubble. Now, the Cleveland one is really the only one. But this is what I will say about that. They already had all the pieces there. That is why he went back. And they only won one. It's still Golden State stretch. But the difference here is Brunson's bringing basketball back to New York. He's bringing it back to the East Coast. He's making MSG alive again. When the Knicks are that popular in the NBA, it's way more impactful than the Cavaliers getting one lousy title.
You are so from Pittsburgh. You will say anything. You will say anything to embarrass Cleveland. But our guy Regina says it's Fugazi, so he agree with Coach.
Hold on.
Regina, that's your team, New York.
I know we got it, but to be fair, we're talking about it's almost an unanswerable question because we know the results of the other free agency decisions. You know what I mean?
And that's probably why your answer is more valid then.
Huh?
That's probably why your answer is more valid because LeBron won in those two spots where Jalen Brunson, it's more based off like the cultural impact.
Yeah.
But he's also doing MJ type stuff. All right. So Coach, I'm going to start with you. Joel Embiid is just NBA Dak Prescott. Ooh. Coach Turner. I was going to say JT went way into social media to find that comparison.
I just couldn't stop. I couldn't scroll away from it. It was everywhere I turned on social media. It was a picture of Dak and a picture of Embiid everywhere I turned.
What do you got, Coach?
Forget about it. Oh, I forget about it. And that part of that's for my man Larry Jerome because I know that's deep. That's a deep cut to him. But also, I think it's just hard. Like Dak Prescott has not been. You guys, I really don't know this because I'm not up on top of everything football. But like Joel Embiid, I think has truly been hampered by bad timing with injuries and. I can't think you can say that for every time Dallas didn't live up to expectations. It wasn't because of, Dak Prescott injury. Sometimes it was just they didn't get it done. I'm asking more than like making that a definitive statement. But anyway, that's what I think in my head. So whether I'm right or wrong, that's why I say Fugazi.
All right, JT.
Man, as much as I got a layup to bash on Embiid and the 76ers, this Fugazi, like, first of all, Joel Embiid, even if I don't agree with it, perennially is like a top 3 or 4 player at worst in the NBA. Dak Prescott ain't nowhere near that. This is an overreaction. Now, are they both not built for the playoffs? Yeah, but there's a lot of top players ain't built for the playoffs. Luka ain't one either, and I don't see anybody comparing him to Phillip Rivers. It's Fugazi, man. Don't disrespect Joel Embiid like that.
Larry Jerome Franklin, yes, we are talking about your Cowboys and hey, we'll bring you on the show. Just have your agent quit playing hardball with us with negotiations. We'd love to have you on. But it's Fugazi. It's Fugazi. Embiid has an MVP, and he plays at an MVP level like the past 4 or 5 years. Injuries and teammates, in my opinion, have derailed Joel Embiid. That's a little different than Dak. Listen, I like Dak. JT knows that. But you're the quarterback. You've had offensive weapons. You got to elevate. And to
be honest, real quick, if anything, if you want to compare Embiid to an NFL player, it's really Lamar Jackson. Like, if you think about it, like they both play in a way in their sports that people feel are unconventional. Like, he's the last big to play like that. Like, no big plays like him. No quarterback plays like Lamar. They got the MVP. They put up these crazy stats.
They've been injured.
And the injury, and then the situation, the playoffs is what they live and die by with their reputation. So I would say Lamar Jackson is closer to Embiid than Dak.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. JT, I'll start with you. Damian Lillard hurt his legacy with the Bucks.
Oh, forget about it. He 100% did because the narrative was always it's Portland and not him. And he proved to be more like a number 2 than a number 1 with the Bucks. And I feel like because he was in Portland, everybody thought he was just, if you just get him in a good situation, he's going to be a superstar. And I was like, maybe he's Paul George. So that's what I saw.
Wow. Coach, you agree?
Fugazi. No, like, again, there's a couple reasons. Like Dame Lillard, I think it's going to be hard to the narrative of like him not winning a championship, like that's just going to be there until he wins one. But I think he's going to have a strong legacy. And if we're talking, I'm not trying to get way off topic, but like we're talking about just overall legacy. You got to start factoring in things off the court, his personality, his cachet with the fans, and like his music career and his like his mind, his consciousness. Like, I don't think so at all. And I also think like some of these questions are just they're questions that you just don't have enough. It hasn't been cooking long enough to like, you can't take this one out of the oven yet. Like, he's been there for one season and his top dog, and it's a big three, they had a lot of injuries. Middleton has been in and out, and I know
he was hurt a lot this year.
He didn't have a perennial MVP conversation guy like for the last whatever. He's up there with Jokic and Embiid and all those like he didn't have that. So I don't like if his career ended today, I don't think it would hurt his legacy. But I also think we know his career is not ending today, and I think they have a very good chance to get a ring. But I worry about Drew Holiday the same way I worry about if the Knicks ever lost Josh Hart.
Well, I agree with you, Coach. It's Fugazi. I mean, there's still time, like you said, and I think they can still get a ring. I think they may have been my preseason to get to the finals. But listen, there was no Giannis. You got to take that into consideration. To me, I agree exactly what you said at the end, Coach. His legacy, in my opinion, can't take a hit unless he does something illegal, like legally illegal, like criminally illegal. Like, yeah, something like that. Like, I don't think whatever he does from now on the court, like, I don't think that impacts his legacy. And listen, JT, everyone is going to be a number 2 to Giannis. So for you to say he looked more like number 2,
I hear what you're saying.
Everyone does the Giannis.
I hear what you're saying, but hey, look, I saw a game in the playoffs where he hit a shot and he mouthed the words, "This why y'all brought me here," and I don't think they won that game. So
wow,
I'm just saying.
No Giannis. Again, no Giannis. So, Coach, speaking of coaches, let's go to this one. Doc Rivers. All right, Doc Rivers' legacy is now cooked. What do you think?
Fugazi.
Ooh. All right, you gotta explain because I'm going to disagree.
I knew you would. I knew you would. I'm not saying this because I knew you would be opposite, but I just maybe the coaching part of my personality is like Doc has won a lot of games with a lot of think about he presided over a successful they didn't win a championship, but they did a lot of good things in Philly. He won a championship, and I feel like I have a poor memory, but I feel like the first big 3, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, the first big 3 where guys came together rather than got drafted together was Boston, and he pulled that together with some veterans, and I understand and the thing about his legacy being cooked, I don't think it's if it's cooked, it's not because of this year. It's cooked because of that narrative about how many game 7s he lost or whatever. There's some stuff that's already happened, and if that didn't cook his legacy, then not winning it all with an injured MVP candidate after coaching the team for half a season, I don't think that's going to cook his legacy either.
JT,
I ain't gonna lie, man. I respect you 100%. You're a coach. Look, man, you know way more basketball than we could ever know. But I gotta disagree with you, man.
Yeah.
This is true. It is cooked because nobody milks a championship more than them dudes that won it that 1 year in Boston. That is the most milked championship of all time. Them and the Jets winning with Joe Namath. And I'm gonna tell you why. Doc Rivers has become, when you have to do group projects in class, he has become the guy that is he pulling his weight in the group project, but he's also getting the credit on the back end because he is the favorite amongst most people in the group. They just like him for some reason.
You don't want the teacher to put him.
That's what he's become. And I feel like this year cooked him even more because he had all that stuff you talked about, blowing the game 7s, not winning with all these talented squads. But they fired a coach that had the number 1 record in the NBA to bring you in because they thought they needed you to put them over the top. You were going to win them a championship. You got worse. Your legacy has to be cooked. You were the fixer, and you ended up fixing them right out of the playoffs. His legacy got to be cooked. Who with championship aspirations that we are a coach away is going to seriously hire him? That's the definition of cooked. He went from a savior to, we can't touch him now. He is in the Frank Vogel category. He will be getting jobs where you will be the scapegoat more than the answer.
Go ahead, Coach. Before I go ahead. I'll let you respond. No, I know you want to. You got to.
My opinion isn't changed. I think you made a very good point. But my thing is, I'm not necessarily saying he's the greatest coach ever and he should not be criticized. I'm just saying that, like, this season ain't what's going to cook his legacy. You know what I mean? Like, this season and what his impact on this season, you know, with the extenuating circumstances of injury and then half a season and all that stuff, like, that's not what's going to cook it. Like, if it's cooked, it's already cooked. Not because of half a season and losing a playoff series without your best player.
So you bring up a good point, Coach, because I was going to say it was.
My bad. Before you go, let me apologize. I didn't realize I went too far with my comments on Doc. Jerome, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. Go ahead.
He was just saying, ouch. Like, man, you went in on him. But Coach Turner, you bring up a good point in terms of, because I agree. I think it was already cooked. But this is what happens when you put yourself back in the limelight and saying, hey, I want another shot at this. I can do this. I can change my legacy. We went from remembering you to be the only coach to lose a series after being up 3-1 twice. He's the only coach to ever do that twice. All the other coaches, if it's happened, it only was once. In fact, Doc doubled up, did it 3 times. He had a 3-1 series lead, blew it 3 times. He's the only coach to do it twice. And in fact, he's done it actually 3 times. So that's how everyone remembers him. But now he should have went into broadcasting after the 2008 championship. But now he's in broadcasting. He comes back. He doubles down that he can change his legacy. And then this happens. So if we thought that, hey, you want to blame the players, you want to blame Chris Paul or whatever 3-1 series lead was on the players, guess what? You can't now, because the team you took over was what, 30-3 or 30-13, 33-13. You were supposed to be the defensive fixer. And it got worse. Where was the defense in the playoffs? So I think his legacy gets recooked, and this is like the nail in the coffin.
It's well done now.
I mean, you don't even want to know.
I will say this: he doesn't. I don't know Doc at all, but I've always enjoyed, even when he was coaching the Celtics against I don't think he cares, and I respect that about him.
Yeah, you got to have that thick skin. I mean, if you're going to be a coach, you got to have that. And listen, I always wished Orlando would have kept him. He was super young back then, and he had to go through growing pains. And this was 20 years ago, where it wasn't every 2 years teams are changing coaches, right? Like, people were more patient with their coaches 20 years ago. Orlando gave up, I thought, a little too soon. All right, last one, forget about it, Fugazi. Coach, Jamal Murray should have been suspended. He got fined $100,000. He threw a towel, and then he threw a heating pad on the court during their Game 2 loss at home to Minnesota. So should he have been suspended?
Biggest forget about it of my time on this show. Absolutely.
Whoa.
And just like it's so reckless and unsafe. Like, you're banned for life from an arena if you throw a beer or something on the court. Like, and maybe that's not a fair example, but like, you throw a heating pad and a towel. I think actually what he threw matters too. Like, there's certain things like those are you got a good chance to slip on a wet heating pad or a towel. Maybe that shouldn't matter at all, but like, to do that and put players at risk, and I guarantee you this. If somebody had tripped and fell on it, he would have been suspended. And for that reason alone, I don't think it should matter whether somebody got hurt. I think Embiid should have been suspended for what he did to Mitchell Robinson. That's not okay. And you're talking to a guy, I'm just being fair, just giving y'all perspective. You're talking about a guy who tore his ACL 3 times. So hell yeah, he should have been suspended. Now, I'm not saying rest of the playoffs, but it should have been one game. And the money the guys make too much money. So like, the money's not going to matter unless it's like $1 million. And that would be too much, but I think he should have lost the game.
JT?
Hey man, coach know what he's talking about. Let's forget about it. And I'll add one more thing he did that people aren't talking about. He went to the refs, argued with them, and insinuated that they are taking bribes. Like, I'm sorry. Like, is Draymond Green the only person that can be criticized and like held accountable for what he does on the court? Like, because it seems like it. Like, Jamal Murray, and he should understand more than anybody. He tore his ACL too. So imagine if they threw that heat pack out there. Like, he, out of everyone should understand, they just get locked up by the Wolves and they frustrated. But yeah, absolutely, he should have been suspended. If that was anybody else, they would have been suspended. If that was a fan, ask Steven Jackson and then what would have happened if they would have put that heat back on the court. It would have been a totally different situation. So they should sit him down.
So listen, Coach T, you know I got love for you, but I got to disagree. And this is why we enjoy having you on this show.
Yeah.
You got to look at.
We don't enjoy having you on this show for this.
Hey, that's all right. At least as long as my name is still on it, they said I can show up.
This should be agreed upon across the board. But go ahead, tell us why you're wrong.
I'm going to defend Jamal Murray. It's Fugazi because you got to look at a couple things. His prior history. What is his prior history? Does he have a lot of technicals? Has he gotten into fights? Has he touched officials? What you've got to look at prior history, right? I think that's part of life in a way. You look at some of the prior history. So no.
So hold on, Don. Let me ask you a question. If I've never done anything in my life and I just walk up to you, I steal your money, slap you in your face, and knock you out, the judge should be like, "Well, he never did it before. Let's give him a break."
Well, that'll be a mitigating factor. Absolutely. No prior history will be a mitigating factor. Instead of you maybe getting the max, you get less.
Here comes a law degree. Here comes a law
degree. So
I'm at least getting fined.
So, okay, no. and he got fined. But then the other thing is, sorry, go ahead, Coach.
Go ahead.
Well, a couple other things. It's too big of a moment for the NBA to intervene, and I gotta give props to the ref here, Davis. I forget his first name, but he said it would not warrant an ejection unless it was thrown at an individual. And they felt the intent was not to be thrown at an individual, and it was during a free throw. So I understand the injury
of Donaghy Davis over there. Maybe he is taking bribes.
I understand the injury aspect of it, but it was during a free throw, and the ref was able to see it. Now, I think the one thing that no one brought up was he actually also threw a towel before the heating pad that landed at like the feet of the refs. And if you remember, what spurred everything was the no charge call that got him and Malone all upset. So it seemed like the towel throw was intentional and was intended for an individual, the referee. So, but they maybe felt it wasn't, and so they only fined him. But the towel thing to the ref, that's questionable, and that would warrant an ejection and or suspension. But I'm going to still say, Fugazi, don't let the NBA intervene, just like the whole Draymond, LeBron James, Game 6 NBA Finals. I'll leave it at that.
I just think, man, I would have had a similar analogy as JT. Like you can't, like, there's certain things that are unforgivable. The only way that I think that he should not have been suspended was if they had ejected him right there, and they didn't do that. And $100,000 is like taking 50 cents out of my cup holder in the car. So I just, I didn't like that. And it's not the biggest conspiracy in the world, but one game I think would have been appropriate. Because it's just so much potential. Think about that. Think about if the heating pad gets picked up but they don't wipe it up, and somebody's it could be his own damn teammate. Like, it's too many things that could go wrong by people throwing things on the court. We get we'll have a head coach in college come on the microphone, the PA system, if somebody throws something on the court in a college game. So you got teams, schools getting fined $500,000 if they rush the floor. You got all these other precedent for that acknowledge how dangerous it is for people or objects to be thrown onto the court. People to come on the court or objects to be thrown, and you got a guy who's a superstar. I think he should be suspended for a game more than a fan should be banned for life, because he's don't get me, man.
Uncle Jerome said it best. He agreed with us, so I feel like, Don, you just fighting a losing battle right now, man. Like,
so
you keep talking, they're not gonna lie you out in the streets in the DMV.
So the comment is because not all the people on the podcast, JT, you got to do it right. You got to read the question, the comment, because people that listen on the podcast. So Larry says, what happens when the dude at the end of the bench starts throwing tape and pre-wrap on the floor? Well, again, is he throwing it at an individual or just on the floor? Sure, he gets a warning if it's just on the floor. If it's at an individual, he's gone. If Jamal Murray does this, if
we're
Jamal
trying to figure out what his intent was, man. Let's just. I think there should be.
So then, coach, what about that intent where you get like a flagrant one where, hey, my intent was to hurt the dude, but I know it's only a flagrant one because I don't go at his head. I just push him in the back a little bit on a layup. Like
that's on the court in the game. This is a dude that's not in the game.
What's the difference? That's even just as dangerous. You're talking about safety of the player. That is just as dangerous. That's why they started putting in flagrant ones and flagrant twos.
Right, but you're talking about like if I foul you and come upside your head and it's dirty and maybe you just elbowed me on the previous play, it's still in the game and like stuff happens on the court. But like you've got to have some maturity and some professionalism and just like. You're like his coach said it himself. Like we're the reigning national champs. We'll act like it. And that
listen. Don't get me wrong. I am not advocating for him to throw stuff on the floor. I am not. But
hey man, look. We could just dead this if you agree with us, man. He should have been suspended. We could move on.
He took his punishment. You got to look at the prior acts again. If this was Draymond, suspension. It's just the way it is. It would be a suspension. You got to look at that.
I subscribe to that same theory of previous history for most things, but this is kind of outside. Like this is outside the lines, man. Like throwing something on the court.
But coach, if the rule is he has to throw it at an individual, then how? It's kind of like the law. You can't just say, well, I don't like what that person's wearing, so we're gonna. Give them a citation. No, if it's not in the law, it's not in the law. You can't just do that.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know what the rule is.
The ref said it. He said it does not warrant an ejection unless it's thrown at an individual.
And I think it's really easy to say that he didn't throw it at an individual because it didn't hit anybody. He might have just missed.
That's a good point. And I think the towel did hit the ref. All right. And if that's the case, then he should be suspended. Right. All right. Last thing, this is just for you, coach. This is why we bring you on, your expertise. Not that I would go to Vegas or anything, but if you can stray me the right way, maybe you can give me a good prediction here. All right. Who do you have in the NBA Finals and who wins? He slept on this one. He slept on this one too.
You know why I'm hesitating.
Old hater energy. When we want that. That's what we want.
You know why I'm hesitating. It's because I don't like the words that are about to come out of my mouth. I gotta go with Minnesota versus Boston.
Okay. And who wins?
And I think I left something in the oven. I gotta go.
Yeah. All right. So that's Boston. You don't need to say. We'll say it for you. So that's Boston. That would be ironic. That'd be like the old KG teams. Minnesota, Boston. I wonder who he would root for.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah. Who's he going? He's gonna be like one of those moms that has two kids playing with like half a jersey.
Half the jersey. When he's in Boston. When he's in Minnesota,
there you go.
He will wear Minnesota. Coach, that was awesome, man. Always a pleasure having you on. Thanks for your time. And we'd love to have you back. Hey, there's still a lot of ball left here.
Hey, man.
So don't go too far.
Like we said pre-show, I got time. So,
well, we always
this is fun, man. I like just being on the show. I pay closer attention more in case y'all call me again. So I gotta start doing some homework. So, JT, Don, it's always fun, man. You guys do a great job.
Thank you. And thank you for the time as always. Again, that was Hodge Turner with us. And to the fans and listeners out there, thank you for listening. As always, remember to please subscribe to us, JT and the Don All Sports Podcast. We can be found on all of the major platforms and where you find all of your other favorite podcasts. And remember, if you like what we do, leave us a 5-star review. And JT,
if you don't like what we do,
leave us a 5-star review. And remember to follow us on social media. Our handle at JT and the Don. We can be found on Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook. So, JT, a lot of fun when Coach T visits. And until the next episode, see ya.
Peace.